Jai!
Ranga Panduranga
At the tender age of 7, young Satyam formed and led a Pandhari Bhajan group.
Kripati Panduranga Muralidhara Kripati Panduranga Muralidhara
పిల్లల్ని పిలిచారు. పండర భజన చేయండి. కరతాళములను చేపట్టి గట్టిలంబిగ జుట్టి కామక్రోధముల కొట్టి ఈ షిరిడి మార్గము బట్టి జై జై రంగా జై జై సాయి జై జై అనుచును రయమున రండి.
It is said that when the dreadful epidemic cholera hit the region, all those places where the Pandhari Bhajan group sang and danced remained untouched and protected from the infection. Several years later, on that historic day of 20th October 1940, Satyam announced his avatarhood, sat on a rock in a garden at Urvakonda and gave his first message to mankind through a bhajan.
Manasa bhajare Guru charanam Dushtara bhava sagara taranam Guru Maharaj Guru Jai Jai Sai Natha Sadguru Jai Jai.
It is significant that his first instruction was not through a talk or a verse, but through a simple bhajan.
Shivaya Namo Om
Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah.
पग घुंघरू बांध मीरा नाची रे पग घुंघरू.
From ancient times, spiritual seekers following the bhakti yoga or the path of devotion immerse themselves in pure love to a name and form of the Supreme. Bhagawan has constantly reiterated the efficacy of chanting the name of God on Namasmarana, especially in this age of Kali. Swami adds that as God is Ganapriya or a lover of music, even better than chanting is singing the name and glories of the Lord. When this kirtana or singing becomes sankeertana or collective singing, the benefits are immense. Attributing the origins of Sankirtana to Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh religion, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a pioneer of the Bhakti movement, Swami initiated the practice of singing bhajans by himself donning the role of the lead singer right from the early 1940s. Gradually, devotees who were musically oriented started singing bhajans and such compositions multiplied.
Namasmarananandamu Sathya Sai Baba.
In the early years, the devotees would sing Tyagaraja Kritis, Purandaradasa songs, or even compose new songs to capture their experiences with Swami. Swami has himself composed many such songs.
సత్య ధర్మము శాంతి ప్రేమలతో నిత్య జీవన యాత్ర సాగించు.
Eventually, these songs evolved into simple namavalis in Sanskrit, Hindi, or Telugu. After Bhagawan gifted Prasanthi Nilayam to the world in 1950, like darshan, bhajans too became a regular part of the ashram routine. Though the bhajans would begin at a specific time, they would conclude when Swami got up from the throne to leave, indicated by the enchanting gesture of him gently pushing the footstool. The singers would stay focused on the feet, so as to not miss the cue. Perhaps an interesting way to hold the devotee's focus on the Guru Charana. In spite of Swami giving so much importance to bhajans, some would wonder, is just doing bhajans enough? Don't we need to do any other sadhana, like different types of yoga, kriya, pranayama, etc.?
ఏమిట్రా సాయిబాబు దగ్గర పోతే భజనకి మించినటువంటిది లోకంలో మరొకటి లేదు. భజనలో ఎంత ఆనందం ఉంటుండాది. సమష్టి అందరి కంఠమును ఒక్కతూరి చేరి ఒక్కతూరి భగవంతాన్ని పిలిచడం ఎంత సమష్టి స్వరూపం. వైబ్రేషన్ తరంగం అంతా కూడా ఏకం చేసేసి హృదయం యొక్క దీన్ని వైబ్రేషన్ గా మారుస్తుంది. నీవు ఒకడే కూర్చొని పూజ రూమ్ లో వాడుకుంటే నీ వైబ్రేషన్ నీకే రియాక్షన్ గా వస్తుంది. కానీ ఇది రియాక్షన్ కాదు, ఈ రియాక్షన్ కాదు, వైబ్రేషన్ గా మారిపోతుంది. దివ్యమైన శక్తిగా మారిపోతుంది. గాలిలో ప్రవేశించి గాలిలో ఉన్నటువంటి దోషాలను కూడా నిర్మూలన చేస్తుంది. కనుక నీవు ఏ చెడ్డ భావములో ఏ చెడ్డ తలంపులతోనో గాలంతా కూడా పొల్యూషన్ అయిపోయింది. ఈ భగవద్భావం అనేటువంటి ఆ గాలిలో చేస్తే దాన్ని అంతా కూడా యాంటీబయాటిక్స్ మాది చంపివేసేస్తుంది. మంచి పవిత్రమైన గాలిని సృష్టిస్తుంది. కనుక భజన అనేటువంటిది చాలా పవిత్రమైనది. దానివల్లనే ఒక కలియుగం లోపల నామస్మరణ కంటే మించింది లేదన్నారు. హరే నామ హరే నామ హరే నామ ఇవ కేవలం కలౌ నాస్త్యవ 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 గతిరన్నిధానం. ఎలాంటి ప్రాణం పోయేటువంటి వాడు కూడా నువ్వు రామాన్ని స్మరించవచ్చు. ఎలాంటి వారికైనా బీతలు కానీ విద్యవారు కానీ ఇక్కడ భేదమే లేదు. విద్యాధికారి కానీ విద్యాధికారి కానీ విద్యాహీనుడు కానీ ఎవరికైనా కూడా నామం స్మరించలేదు. కనుక భగవత్ నామస్మరణ చేసుకుంటూ జీవితాన్ని సార్థకం చేసుకోవాలి.
When Swami would travel, the inmates of the ashram would congregate to follow this discipline twice a day. Bhagawan was physically absent, but the bhajans reached him for sure, as this very sweet and profound episode reveals. Swami was once travelling to Bangalore in the car of a devotee in the late 1950s, and the small child of the devoted couple was seated on Swami's lap during the journey, when she had the strangest of experiences. Exactly when the bhajan session began in Prasanthi Mandir that evening, she heard the Omkar being chanted, followed by the entire bhajan session, concluding with Mangala Arati and Jaikar through the sound emanating from Swami's chest like a music player. Later Swami said, when bhajans are offered with bhakti, they certainly reach me. The early devotees who were washed in this bliss of sankeertan and darshan of Swami at Prasanthi Nilayam had to eventually return to their homes, rather reluctantly and tearfully. In a desire to relive and recreate that bliss, they started singing these bhajans in their own home. These bhajans began attracting those in the neighborhood, for the peace they brought was undeniable. This became the seed for the thousands of bhajan mandalis that started springing up in various places around India. And for Swami's part, he kept the divine promise given to sage Narada, Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayante Tatra Tishtami Narada. I reside where my devotees sing my glories. Swami showed his presence in such bhajan sessions in innumerable ways, snapping of garlands, an unmissable fragrance of jasmine flowers, shower of vibhuti and amrita, and many such. Hundreds of devotees were drawn to Swami through such bhajan sessions. And when Swami would travel, he would be greeted by bhajan singing too. When he landed in the African continent in 1968, he was welcomed by devotees singing bhajans in the airport. When he went to distant towns and villages, bhajans reverberated. With time, devotees of Swami carried Sai Bhajans to every corner of the world, making it a global phenomenon. In the first World Conference of the Sri Sathya Sai organization in May 1968, Bhagawan mandated bhajan singing as one of the central activities of the organization. Quote, bhajans are best held on Thursday evenings and Sunday evenings. But that is no unbreakable rule. For It is not the day of the week that counts. It is the heart that must be ready and eager to imbibe the joy and share it. As a matter of fact, bhajan is a constant exercise. It has to be as essential as breathing. Group bhajans must be arranged to suit the convenience of the locality and the people. Some people affirm that bhajans used at Prasanthi Nilayam alone should be sung. But God is omnipresent. He is the indweller in every heart. All names are His. So, you can call on Him by any name that gives joy. Members of Sathya Sai organizations must not cavil at other names and forms of God. They should not become fanatics, blind to the glory of other names and forms. They should join the groups that honor those other manifestations and demonstrate that all names and forms are mine. They should contribute to the joy and happiness of all without giving up their faith. Unquote. The duration of a bhajan session was largely based on convenience. In the early years, bhajan sessions would even go on for a couple of hours. One of the earliest set of devotees to come to Swami from Bangalore, who had taken to bhajan singing, decided to hold a 24-hour non-stop or akhanda bhajan session in the 1940s. Not only did Swami give his approval, but for decades, Swami physically attended these sessions that were held in Bangalore. Later, Swami initiated the 12-hour Shivratri Bhajan and the 24-hour Akhanda Bhajan at Prasanthi Nilayam. This Akhanda Bhajan would simultaneously be held across the globe. An episode of matchless grace happened during one of the Akhanda Bhajan sessions. In 1968, a mother and her young son went to meet Dr. Padmanabhan at his house in Bangalore. The son had white patches all over his face and body. The mother pleaded with Dr. Padmanabhan, "I heard Swami is going to be your guest. My son has this terrible skin problem. Can you request Swami on our behalf to cure him, please?" Dr. Padmanabhan felt sorry for the young man and politely advised the mother, "Why don't you come along with your son for the Akhanda Bhajan tomorrow? Your son can sing and you can directly offer your prayer to Swami." So the next day, the mother and son were present for the 24 hours Akhanda Bhajan. Swami spent many hours sitting and listening to the bhajans. In the evening, when Bhagawan returned to Dr. Padmanabhan's residence, the family knew that he would now retire for the day. It was 10 p.m. The clouds had opened up and a heavy rainstorm had started. Swami suddenly asked for the car to be brought to the front porch and insisted on going immediately to the bhajan venue in spite of the family's protests due to the bad weather. As Bhagawan entered the hall, the young man was singing the bhajan, "Darsha dikhao mere Sai Nandalala," meaning, "Oh my Sai Krishna, can you grant me your darshan, please?" Swami walked straight to this man and stood right in front of him as he continued to pour his heart out melodiously, unmindful of Swami's presence. When he finished singing and opened his eyes, he was shocked and thrilled to see Swami right before him. The kind Lord then gently bent forward and softly touched his forehead. In that very instant, all the white patches on his entire body disappeared. It was like he was born anew with a clear, beautiful skin. Even before the man could realize the immensity of the grace that Bhagawan had showered on him, Swami swiftly walked away, leaving the few devotees present dazed with this miracle. This young man had sung during the day too, when Bhagawan was physically present. But why did Swami come specially for him again in the night? Swami later explained that when he was singing in the morning, he was singing out of expectation to be healed by him. And when nothing happened, his expectation turned into disappointment and doubt. In the night, he was singing with absolutely no expectation, only in a spirit of acceptance and surrender. In fact, the intensity of his prayer had reached such a high that Swami could not contain himself and decided to return even if it was pouring heavily outside. Countless are the miracles where devotees have been healed and protected, cured and cared for, doubts dispelled and dilemmas resolved, soul awakened and divinity revealed, and bondage discarded, all through the sadhana of soulful bhajansi. Mr. Krishnadas Eradi was about 20 years when he had his life's most metamorphic moment. When he came to Bhagawan in the early 1960s, he respected Swami, but nobody could take the place of Lord Krishna in his heart since he had grown up singing Krishna Bhajans. One morning, as he sat in the Prasanthi Mandir, participating and enjoying the bhajans, slowly, the color of Bhagawan began to change. The orange transformed into blue. The halo of hair disappeared. A beautiful peacock feather appeared. His heart leapt in bliss, declaring, "Here is my Krishna, here is my Krishna." From that moment on, Prasanthi became his home, and he dedicated his entire life to singing only Sai Bhajans. Another bhajan singer for many years, Mr. Mohan Rao, narrated how once, when he was in the interview room, he mentioned, "Swami, every day we conduct bhajans in our house and many people come and participate." Swami replied saying, "I know, Bangaru, I listen to the bhajans." Mohan Rao lovingly retorted saying, "But Swami, how am I to believe unless you give me a proof?" "Oh, you want proof?" asked Swami. "I will give you," he said, and narrated an episode that happened a month ago when it began raining heavily and the flower vendor who would deliver the garland for Swami's picture could not come. Swami asked him, "Do you remember a man came in a cycle in that pouring rain and gave you a garland and left before you could pay him? Who do you think that was?" Swami shows us the path of bhajans, helps us tread along it, and eventually accepts the prayerful offerings as well, and blesses us. Talking about Sai Bhajans, how can we forget a form of offering that is very dear to Swami, the Nagar Sankeertan, where devotees take to the streets singing bhajans in the sacred early morning hours. The earliest form of Nagar Sankeertan was, of course, Swami's Pandhari Bhajan. But this sadhana, as it is followed now in Prasanthi Nilayam, has an interesting beginning. Students from the Veda Pathashala that Swami set up in the 1960s would go to the Chitravati for their pre-dawn ablutions and prayers, and would return to their quarters in the ashram chanting Vedam and singing bhajans. Noticing this, Swami said, "Why not do a pradakshina or a circumambulation to the mandir as you return?" And thus, Veda Parayanam and Nagar Sankirtan became a part of the everyday schedule of Prasanthi. In the early years, Swami would grant a special Nagar Sankirtan darshan to devotees. This was a blessing that Swami granted even in Vrindavan.
Govinda Hare, Gopala Hare, He Radha Ramana Lola, Bhavabhaya Harana, Pandita Charana, Hare Rama,
He also made it a point to conclude every discourse of his with a bhajan. When Swami leads a bhajan, the divine vibrations that envelop every devotee is palpable, sending everyone into a rhapsody of Ananda.
Om Shiva 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 Subramanya, Hara 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 Subramanya. Jai Subramanya, Subramanya, Shanmuganatha Subramanya. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shanmuganatha Subramanyam. Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shanmuganatha Subramanyam. సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం షణ్ముఖనాథ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం ఓం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం షణ్ముఖనాథ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం జై సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం షణ్ముఖనాథ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం ఓం ఓం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం షణ్ముఖనాథ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం జై సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం షణ్ముఖనాథ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం.
In the mid-1950s, when a few devotees took it lightly and continued doing their work during the bhajan time, Swami accosted them and then explained, "How will my gaze fall on you if you're not seated in the bhajan mandir during bhajans? When my gaze falls on anyone during bhajans, their karma of lifetimes is burned away in an instant. That is why I insist on all of you attending bhajans." For those participating in the bhajans, the instructions were that they should sing loudly, clapping their hands, and be seated without any elaborate movements that could distract others. Men on one side, women on the other, and with everyone facing the altar. In fact, Swami goes on to say that even if one person in the congregation doing bhajans is sincerely focused on God, everyone there receives divine grace. For those devotees who would lead bhajans, Swami had a set of instructions too. Singing bhajans should be considered a sadhana and not a performance. Hence, the bhajans and their rendering had to be melodious but simple, so they can be followed by all. Swami instructed that singers should practice diligently before the offering.
You sing a song, what sort of how do you practice? Because of practice only you have become a singer. If you don't practice, you are not a singer. Even if you sing, there will be no one to listen. It will be out of tune. So in order to have correct tune, you should practice.
Guru Nanak Yeshu Buddha Hare.
As many names and forms of gods as possible must be included, for those in the gathering may have many different deities' names and forms that they may be drawn to. The bhajans have to be inclusive, thus making Sarva Dharma bhajans mandatory. Swami laid special emphasis on clapping hands while singing. Swami would say, "Life is like a tree on whose branches are seated the birds of the 6 vices. They spoil your peace and happiness with their nasty droppings. When you sing the Lord's name clapping your hands loudly, they fly away."
Dhupate Raghava Raja Rama, O Raja Rama, O Sai Rama. Dhupate Raghava Dasharatha Nandana Raja Rama, Kausalyatmaja Sundara Rama, Rama Rama Jaya Raja Rama, Raghava Moha Shamala Komala. Raja Rama Shamala Komala Megha Shama. Shamala Komala Megha. This is the process of it. Rama Jaya. Rama Rama Jaya Raja Rama Shamala Komala Megha Shama. Shamala Komala Megha. Shamala Komala Megha.
సంకీర్తన యొక్క సారం ఏమిటి? భగవత్ ప్రేమకు పాత్రుడు కావటమే సంగీతం యొక్క సారం. భావము నెరిగి భక్తిని కూర్చి ప్రేమను చేర్చి పవిత్రమైనటువంటి పలుకుల చేత పరమాత్మని ప్రేమిస్తూ వర్ణించటమే గానము. పదములకు అర్థము తెలియకుండా, భావమును చేర్చకుండా, ప్రేమను అందులో ప్రవేశపెట్టకుండా గానము కేవలము అది ఒక టేప్ రికార్డ్ అని చెప్పవచ్చును, గ్రామ్ఫోన్ ప్లేట్ అని చెప్పవచ్చు.
Just like Bhagawan's discourses are treasure houses of wisdom, each bhajan too is his message melodiously packed in a few words and lines. While we sing Gopala Gopala in a bhajan, Bhagawan has explained that Gopala means not just the one who tended the cows of Vrindavan. Go means Mother Earth, also living beings. Therefore, Gopala truly means the caretaker of the entire creation. The Lord is described as Ghanashyam, the one who is sky blue in color. Again, Swami clarified that blue here does not refer to the color of the skin. Blue means infinity. Everything that is endless like the sky and ocean is blue. Thus, Ghanashyam means the one who is infinite and incomprehensible. Similarly, when we adore him as Kamalanayana, Kamalacharana, lotus eyes, lotus feet and so on, what it actually means is that just like the lotus, which is born of mud and slush, is always above it and never allows even a single drop of water to stay on its leaves, divinity in human form is in the material world but above it. A Sai Bhajan, therefore, is Vedanta packed in a musical capsule. With time, devotees of Bhagawan and later the students began composing bhajans, and these compositions too became means for his leelas and mahimas. Sai Mera Tum Ho Sahara was composed when a devotee was completely broke with no job and had to perform the naming ceremony of his little daughter. As he prayed tearfully to Swami, out of the blue, someone came in and handed him a big amount of money. In that moment, this composition spontaneously emerged from his heart. The bhajan Kasturi Tilakam Narayanam was composed as an expression of a devotee's desire to offer something to Bhagawan when he had visited Guruvayur on a Janmashtami day. Pavanasutta Hanuman ki Jai burst forth from the heart of a devotee who was in a Hanuman temple in Kanpur, where he was enthralled by the enthusiastic manner in which everyone was doing jaikars to Hanuman. Tripura Sundari Ma, Amba Daya Sagari Ma was composed when a devotee disturbed by the challenges in his office with the workers' union came home and imagined himself resting his head on the lap of Sai Ma. Visualizing Swami as the Divine Mother during one Navratri, a singer spontaneously sang Jai Durga Lakshmi Saraswati, Sai Jagan Mata. A mother, praying for her ailing son, cried out singing, Antaranga Sai, Anathanatha Sai.
Antaranga Sai, Anathanatha.
Shankaram Bhaje, Shankaram Bhaje.
With the dawn of the digital era, people all across the globe can tune in live to Prasanthi Mandir Bhajans every day. The Sri Sathya Sai Bhajans YouTube channel with bhajan offerings every single day has become a part of many households. And also, these recordings give an authentic flavor of Sai Bhajans.
भैरवी अम्बे भवानी
Today, Sai Bhajans are sung in English, Japanese, Spanish, Chinese, Indonesian, German, and many other languages. Swami did not merely begin this global Sai Bhajan movement. He infused his own energy into it, and he was himself the reward of this sadhana. Thousands and thousands of hours of the avataric life was spent in merely receiving the offering of bhajans. The sight of Swami swaying to bhajans, tapping to the beat and smiling mysteriously is an ethereal vision, a sight yearned for by celestial beings for sure.
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम
भजन बिना सुख शांति नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि भजन बिना शांति नहीं, हरि नाम बिना आनंद नहीं, हरि भजन बिना, हरि भजन बिना